Hey guys, we're back with more Star Ocean 3. So, last time we made it through the desert, and we just started doing the Ruins of Mosul, so we're going to continue doing that. So yeah, the enemies in here are a bit of a pain, so I unequipped the blaze gun from the rear because they all absorb, like, elemental magic, so it's just like, yeah. And, yeah, this is just that one section of the game that's just going to be a pain in the ass. So, yeah, now this is where Cliff starts to become less useful, because they all seem to absorb elements and stuff, and yeah. And Maria, well, she has a micro blaster, so she can actually still be useful, but yeah, at the same time, it's like, you know, obviously, it's still going to be a pain because she can't be at her, like, maximum strength, so, you know. But Scarbeam's still effective at least, so there's still that. But yeah, it's better to use Maria than Cliff for this, just simply because Hammer of Might isn't as useful anymore. I mean, Cliff does have his uses, like late game, but honestly Maria is still better overall if you ask me. Like, just simply because, like, Scarbeam, like, later on, it just deals insane damage. Like, especially when you get all the hits on, it's just ridiculous. But, yeah, like, I just think that, as I say, going back to what I was talking about last time, because I was talking about this topic, and I'm still talking about this topic now, you know? I just feel that Star Ocean 3 it's that game, isn't it? And I think that a lot of people, to this day, still see it as that game. And that's why a lot of people love it, and that's why a lot of people are fond of it. Unlike Star Ocean 6, which, even though it's a much better game in every single way than this, people aren't as fond of it. And especially Star Ocean 5, mainly because it just doesn't have as much. It's not as meaty, you know? It's not as huge. You know what I mean? And that's the problem, like, it's not as ambitious as this either. This is an ambitious game. This game was trying to really do something really amazing. You know, like, this game was a huge deal back then, you know? But Star Ocean 6, it's more of a return to form, and people look at it like that. That people see it that way. They don't look at it for what it actually is as a game. They look at it for what the series used to be and what it's trying to live up to. But that's the reality of modern gaming. All modern games are like that. The difference is that Star Ocean succeeds, other games fail. But it's never going to escape that stigma. You know, at least not anytime soon. Maybe one day it will, but not anytime soon, you know? That stigma is going to remain for a while, because of just the state of, like, mainly just simply because of just how this series has gone for so long. It's going to be one of those games that people are going to look back on and people are going to be like, this game was underrated, you know? This game really, like, it's going to be one of those games. It is. And it's like, you see Star Ocean 2 Remake and everyone going like apeshit over it. You know? And like everyone talking about it. And it's just like, if it wasn't for 6, maybe that wouldn't have even happened. You know what I mean? It's just like, but the problem is, Square Enix turned to fucking gem drops to do it because they had no faith in Tri-Ace for some reason. And yeah. But it's obvious that Square Enix saw money the moment that that game released, which is kind of a win for Star Ocean, but at the same time that doesn't necessarily mean anything if Tri-Ace aren't really making it, you know what I mean? It's just like, it just means we get a remake, you know? But, I mean, the question is, like, what is really next for this series? It's kind of an interesting question. Most series you don't ask that question for, but this series you do, because we can never truly know with Tri-Ace, you know? You know, they're not like other companies. You know, like, they've still got something going for them. And these guys are starting to piss me off so fucking much with that firebolt spam, and it's stupid and annoying. Yeah, we get it, you're annoying. Die. But, yeah, like, that is a good question. What is going to happen to this series? Like, will it have a resurgence? Will there be a grand revival? Because I won't really say the Star Ocean 2 remake is a revival. It's been popular, but will people feel the same way about a Star Ocean 7 if they release one of those games like later down the line? I mean, obviously Valve Profile is way overdue, and I think more people want a Valve Profile game, honestly. But like the thing about it is that how will a Star Ocean 7 be received? Will it be received the same way 6 was, or worst case scenario 5? Because neither of them were really regarded with much praise. Like 6 was just regarded as just like mediocre. Like it's kind of how it was regarded, and 5 was regarded as the worst game ever. You know, and it's just like this game, on the other hand, was regarded to be as a masterpiece. And that's what I don't understand about the fan base of this franchise, and a lot of it is the fan base themselves. You know, the Star Ocean fan base is just, I can't understand it. I'll never understand the Star Ocean fan base whatsoever. It's kind of like wrestling fans. I feel wrestling fans are the same. I will never understand wrestling fans. You know, I will never understand the Star Ocean fans. I just will never understand them, because they are just, and I'll say I'm kind of guilty of it as well, because I'm very much the same. Like when it comes to like these fucking enemies with their fucking fireball spam are so annoying. I get that it's a fast spell to use, but that's the problem. It's just like, it's a fast spell to use, so they abuse the fuck out of it. And then it gets on my nerves, and then they just whack, 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 and stagger me endlessly. Let me use my move before you fucking start staggering me. Now both of them are trying to bum me. You go for the healer, of course you do. Cliff is on his own doing bugger all, because he has no fucking magic. He's just a sitting duck. He's just there to take hits, and no one's even hitting him. And you're still going with fireball on me instead of somebody else. Why? And why does Nell have fucking Tom when she doesn't... I just don't understand. Like, I haven't even built her up as a fucking tank. Like, it's hard to do that. Like, with her statistics. But, yeah. This guy's going after fucking Nell just to be a pain in the ass, it seems.
That was a fight?
Right. You're out of the way. But yeah, the future of this series is very ambiguous. Unlike other franchises where you just know that they're going to go downhill. I mean, Star Ocean The Divine Force was like... It was an anomaly, I think. You don't see it often, but then again, given the fact that it's Tri-Ace, it doesn't surprise me. You know, Tri-Ace seems to know what they're doing, you know? They seem to be the only company left that seem to understand what needs to be done. And I can't really understand why that is. Like, Square Enix are a fucking joke now, like... I mean, they're relying on the success of their previous, like, properties, like Final Fantasy. Like... I mean, what are the best things that Square Enix have ever done? That's an interesting thing. Like, let's not talk about Tri-Ace here. Let's just talk about Square Enix themselves. Like, what's the best thing Square Enix has ever done? I'll tell you right now, the best things that Square Enix have ever done have always been, like, colossal train wrecks. But, like Star Ocean 3, they've been ambitious. Like, there are some ambitious Square Enix games. Just look at fucking, like, the Saga games and The Last Remnant. Those are really ambitious. But, are they good games? Well, that's the question, isn't it? You know? It's like The Last Remnant had a lot of problems. A lot of problems. You know? But it's just like, you know... It's the case of like... Tri-Ace have always been like that. They've always been like that unapologetically. But because they've stuck with it for so many years, they've eventually managed to create a masterpiece that has surpassed every other game, and that's Valkyrie Profile 2. You know? Whereas with other game franchises, they don't stick with it. You know? They see it as a failure. Like, Square Enix sees it as a failure and they don't do it again. They don't give it another chance. Whereas Tri-Ace, because they're not a big, like, publisher, they're going to obviously, like... They're obviously going to try and, like, do the... Oh, I thought that was a caster. Like, my bad. So, yeah, wrong one. Right. I need to get the warrior for this one. But yeah, like... that's the thing. Tri-Ace, because they are the company they are, they have always stuck by this. Whereas, like, Square Enix, it's more of a case of like, and it's still the same thing really with Tri-Ace, because their IPs are ultimately governed by Square Enix. So, and that's the problem with Tri-Ace, and that's how they've been affected by it. It's all because of Square Enix, because they will see a risk take as something they don't want to invest in. You know? But then you see Final Fantasy VII Remake, and how it didn't perform as well as they wanted it to. Well, maybe it's because they didn't take risks, because they just made another generic open world game. And I know that the game has its fans and all, but you know, it's just like, what did you expect, Square Enix, you know? But that's the thing, they look at analytics. These aren't game developers, they look at analytics and they think, oh, look at all these people nostalgic about Final Fantasy VII, and so many people, so many idiots crying out for a remake of Final Fantasy VII. And I call them idiots because that's what they are. If you're one of these people who wants a remake of Final Fantasy VII, just play Final Fantasy VII. You know? What is wrong with the original game that makes it need a remake? Games that need a remake are games like this that have all the potential in the world to be great, but aren't. But even then, will a remake even save them? I'm not saying it's impossible. Look at Odin Sphere Leifasir. But it doesn't always work, you know? Final Fantasy VII was a big hit back in the day. People loved that game. You can argue it's not aged well, but just because it's not aged well doesn't mean that it needs a remake. You know? If it was good back in its heyday, then it should be left as it is. It's if it's problematic back in its heyday that it needs a remake. And this game is problematic to some degree. It's like Devil May Cry 1. Do I think Devil May Cry 1 needs a remake? No. Because ultimately that game has not aged well, but it is what it is. It was a product of its time. You know? I mean, Devil May Cry 2, on the other hand, yes, because that game had problems. That's why I say a remake of Devil May Cry 2 would be a good idea. But that's the thing, isn't it? You know? Devil May Cry 2 doesn't get a remake because nobody liked it to begin with. So if nobody liked it to begin with, publishers are going to consider it a risk, and they're not going to do it. But Star Wars and the Second Story, of course Star Wars and the Second Story gets a remake. Of course it does. Because everybody loved it. But the thing is, why? Why did we need a remake of Star Wars and the Second Story? We didn't. We need a remake of this. Because this game is a game I want to like so badly. So fucking badly I want to love this game. But I can't because it's got too many fucking problems. And, well, let's put it this way. I do like this game to some degree, but this game has so many problems that just cannot be ignored, and fucking Nell is getting bummed right now, so I have to move her out of the way so that she doesn't get bummed by everybody, and then actually use her healing spell, because Cliff's in the fucking corner doing bugger all. Like, it would be easier if Cliff was the one taking all the punishment, but unfortunately he isn't, and these guys are spamming Firebolt, which is annoying me, because every single time that fucking Firebolt hits, it staggers me, and it's pissing me off. So, can you stop spamming your stupid fucking Firebolt spell? And start actually being less of a pain in the ass, for God's sake. But yeah, like, as I say, that's the thing. You know? I honestly think that a lot of the problem nowadays, if I'm going to blame anyone, it's gamers. You know? The gaming community is full of idiots. I think every community is to some degree, but there's too many stupid people that play video games. And game companies listen to them, including Tri-Ace, which makes sense. They are the customer, so obviously you've got to care to the customer, but the customer isn't always right, you know? Just because they asked for a remake doesn't mean they actually want a remake. It just means that they like the game. But that's not how it translates. It's like I spoke to somebody on Reddit. I forgot what Reddit it was. Who was saying, oh, we need a remake of this game, and I told them, no you don't, and basically they said, how dare you be so mean to me, like, I was saying it in good faith and good nature, and you will be negative about the game, you know, and it's just like, dude, I'm trying to say, you know, game companies listen, say the right things, because if you don't say the right things, you'll have problems like fucking Final Fantasy VII Remake, which upset everybody. I mean, some people liked it to be fair, but you know, it's just like, what do you get out of it? You know? Like, as someone who's played Final Fantasy VII before, I don't want to have to play it again. And someone who, like, is a purist of that game, they don't want to see the story change. You know? They don't want to see the game they love tainted. Like, for me, I'm not going to play it. I played the game before. And newcomers, like, I have seen some newcomers interested in it, to be fair, but it's just like, you know, just play the original. You know, it exists. Why just jump on it just simply because it's new and trending? Why don't you just play the original game? It's accessible, you can play it. It's on Steam. You know? It's just like, why do you have to play the remake? You're not going to get the same experience with the remake. Whereas this game, the thing about this game, and why this game could definitely use a remake, is because it has so many good ideas. It does so many things right, but it fumbles in certain areas. I'm getting worried about my, hang on, did I just press something off? I did. But yeah, that's the thing. This game has potential to be amazing, and I want to love it. Like, I've seen it happen, people, with Odin Sphere. You know? A game that went from being a game that I really, like, had a love-hate relationship with to a game that I absolutely adore. You know? So, surely the same can apply to Star Ocean 3. And that's what I think. That game's given me hope for remakes. That's the only reason why I give a shit about remakes, because I saw what they did with Odin Sphere Lathaseer. And because of Odin Sphere Lathaseer, that's the reason why I see the potential for a remake in this game. If any video game gets a remake, it should be this one. This is the one that needs it. This is the one that can benefit from it. But they're never going to do it because they know that it's just too much to take on. They know that they can't just get a third-party company like fucking Gemdrops to make it on the cheap, like they did with Star Ocean 2. You know? Because let's be honest, it was a cheap, like... It was a cheap, like... It was made on the cheap, and the thing about it is with Star Ocean 2 Remake, you can just tell it's one of those games. Like, whether or not you enjoy it, you can, like, if you, like, I say this, but at the same time, I don't actually think it's true, because so many people just don't see it, but I fucking see it. It's clear as day to me. I don't know about anyone else, but it's clear as day to me that that game was made on the cheap. But it's obvious that it was made on the cheap, because you play that game and you just know they didn't put any effort into that remake whatsoever. That remake is purely a corporate power move by Square Enix. That is what it is. You can like the remake. I mean, I'm not going to knock the remake. I think the remake does make some improvements. From what I've seen, I do think that it has some changes, quality of life changes that can be beneficial. But the thing about it is that it's not really anything groundbreaking. It's not something that is state of the art. Something that is like, wow, this is a whole new experience. You know? It's just Star Ocean 2 again, but with a few improvements. That's it. You know? But it's also got rid of the fucking pre-rendered backgrounds as well. And that's another thing that annoys me about remakes. And I've wanted to get onto this topic for a while. And I'm going to start talking about this topic next, because I really want to get onto this topic. Music. My god, like, people give fucking Star Ocean 5 a lot of flack for stealing music from this game. But I take that over remixing music. Remixing. Oh boy, I cannot stand it when games remix music. I cannot. Like, there's nothing worse. Absolutely nothing worse than when a game decides, oh, like when a game company decides, oh, like, let's create a remix of this track. Let's make the soundtrack, like, let's just completely remake the soundtrack entirely for this game. Keep everything else the same, but change the music. That's the worst thing you can do. There's only one game that I can think of off the top of my head that actually benefited from that. That game being East 4 of Dawn of East, and like the Hudson PC Engine trilogy where they arranged the music, where Ryo Yonemitsu arranged the music. That's the only time I've ever seen a video game remix that's actually good. And Star Ocean's guilty of it too with First Departure, which had a god-awful remix. I fucking hate that remix so much.
Thank you for coming, Romeria. It's been a long time.
Yes. Yes, it has been, Arze. I am so pleased to see you are well.
Likewise, Romeria. You are as beautiful as ever.
And you have not changed one bit, I see.
But what took you so long? I was starting to fear that one of our hardliners had done something foolish.
Don't play dumb with us.
By that, I take it that something did happen. Please accept my deepest apologies. Those troublemakers had the impudence to suggest that we need not ally ourselves with Aquaria if we could stand up to the new enemy alone. They urged me to conquer Aquaria and take your new weapon for ourselves.
A simple plan for simple minds.
They do not understand the dire consequences of misjudging this new enemy's strength. We are facing a much stronger threat this time, and cannot afford to exhaust our strength.
Then you agree to our proposal?
Yes, we have no other choice. Our military forces also sustained terrible losses in that recent attack. Out of the 3 brigades of Eriglyph, only the Storm Brigade still has a captain. Woltar is the only one left.
What happened to Albel?
What happened to Albel? I wonder if he was killed.
That's what I just said.
But tell me, who is this enemy we face? I heard your agent's explanation the other day, but it made no sense to me.
I felt the same way. Perhaps they can explain it to us again.
I have to admit, I find it hard to believe. What about you, Romeria?
I must believe, Arze, lest both our countries be destroyed.
Turning these outsiders over to this new enemy is another option, is it not?
That might have been possible before. But now I am afraid it is no longer an option.
Why is that?
The enemy attacked the Shrine of Kadan.
Kadan was attacked?
Kadan has nothing to do with these outsiders. Once it came under attack, we realized that our lands had become the target of the enemy's aggression. Hence, there is but one thing left to try.
Engage them on our own terms.
Correct. We must unite the power of our nation's runological weapon and Eriglyph's air dragons.
This is no time to fret over national honor.
That is correct.
All right, let us join forces. However, at present, having our air dragons carry a runological weapon will not be an easy task.
Please explain.
First, it is a matter of size. According to information obtained by our spies, your weapon would be too big to be carried by an air dragon.
How about carrying it with more than one dragon?
That too would be difficult.
Then what's the point of this alliance?
Do not be so hasty, young man. The king said, at present.
Huh?
I said it's a matter of size. To carry a big weapon, we need a bigger air dragon.
Where could we find such a beast?
In the Urza lava caves, near a place you have already been. The Becquerel Mines.
Oh no.
An air dragon of immense size dwells within the caverns there.
So all we have to do is capture the critter?
That is correct. However, mistaking him for a mere air dragon would be suicide. The Marquis, as the beast is known, is a creature of immense size and strength. Even Vox was unable to subdue him.
Do not fear, Arze. I trust they will be capable.
I do not doubt you feel that way. However, our trust is not so easily given.
Then what do you propose we do? Did you not consent to joining forces?
I only request that a representative of Eriglyph be included in their party. Then I shall withdraw my objections.
A just proposal. But who would you have go? Woltar?
No, Woltar is much too old. I do not have the heart to send him into the Urza lava caves. I was thinking of someone else.
Yeah, you don't want to send him to the worst dungeon ever.
I was thinking about sending Albel.
Albel?
Poor Albel.
Do you object? I, for one, am quite fond of him. What do you think, Romeria?
Well, clearly you're not, because you're sending him to the Ursa lava caves.
Albel shall travel with the party. You do not mind, do you?
I personally don't mind, but
Doesn't matter what we think. The problem's gonna be what Albel thinks.
Then it is settled. Albel will be waiting for you in Eriglyph. You can meet him there.
we understand.
We will be expecting you.
I must ask that you take us to Paterni. Claire can escort us from there. After that, you may head to Eriglyph.
Your Majesty.
Yeah, I don't know what crime Albel's committed, but he seems to have committed treason or something because they've sent him to hell. And we're going there as well, so it's not fun. I'm just going to say that right now. What we're about to go through is a pain that cannot be easily described by simple words. You just have to experience it for yourselves to understand just how agonizing the next dungeon is going to be. And when I say dungeon, I mean dungeons, because we're going to have to go through 3 fucking dungeons in a row. 3 fucking dungeons in a row, and at least 2 of them are fucking terrible. Like, that's what we're going to fucking have to deal with right now. You know, that's what we're going to have to deal with next. So get ready for the worst part of this game. This is the part of the game that I've been dreading this entire playthrough, and this is why I did all this grinding earlier, just simply because I fucking hate this part of the game with a passion. I really hate this part of the game with a passion. Like, I can't stress that enough. Like, this part of the game really sucks. And, yeah. Can you leave me alone, please? So, yeah. This is where, like, this is where the difficulty goes way up at this point. This is where just the game just becomes bullshit. Like, if it wasn't already bullshit as it is, this is where it becomes super bullshit. Like, because now the game developers, for some reason, just they've just had enough. They're just like, right, that's it. This player's had enough fun. Like, we need to make sure that the fun ends right now. That's basically what this point in the game is. So it's just like, right, time to bring in the big guns. Time to make sure the player never plays our games ever again. That's basically what the next dungeon's all about. So, yeah, we're going to go to the Ursa Lava Caves. And the Ursa Lava Caves is only one part of it, really. I mean, I say it's the worst dungeon ever, but, like, the thing about it is that even though it is technically the worst dungeon ever, I mean, you don't have to deal with the water thing anymore, thankfully, so you can actually freely roam around here. But, like, the thing about it is that even though you don't have to deal with, like, the whole, like the whole thing about, like even though you've got, like, I say Ursa Lava Caves is, like, the worst dungeon, it's actually a bunch of dungeons that you have to do, and they're all horrible, like, all of them. I just call Ursa Lava Caves the worst, just simply because that's when the difficulty, like, it's not when the difficulty spike happens, but it's partially. Let's put it this way, like, when you get to the Ursa Lava Caves, you'll know when you reach it, because before you reach it, there's a test to see if you're worthy of reaching the Ursa Lava Caves. And you have to fight a boss which is going to anally invade you hard. And if you beat that boss, congratulations, now get ready for a dungeon that has regular enemies in that dungeon that are just as hard as that boss fight you just faced. And they're just as devastating. So get ready for pain. And there's a reason why. And the reason for this, well, you'll find out soon enough, and I'll explain it when we get there. But yeah, as I say, right now I'm just wandering around this fucking desert, looking for treasure, I guess. But I don't know, I'm just having a roam about, since I'm not going to, like, fucking die of thirst anymore, so I can actually roam this place freely. But yeah, like, that's the thing. So yeah, we're in for some pain next. Like, if you thought I was gonna be in agony before, oof, this part of the game, man, I really dread this part. I really do. Like, once we get past this point in the game, I will say that the game does get a lot better once you get past this section. Once you get past Disc 1, I do feel that that's when the game goes uphill from there. So if you can get past Disc 1 and you still enjoyed it, then you're probably not going to be that bothered about, like, the rest of the game, honestly. But it's getting over the hump of Disc 1. But I've made preparations to make the hump a lot easier, so based on the fact that I've made some preparations, it might not be as problematic. It might actually go well, but still, nonetheless, like, even if it does somehow work out, I still have to bring up just how much of a nightmare this next dungeon is. Because it is. It's a huge nightmare. And I still have to acknowledge that, because on your first playthrough, you're not going to see it any other way, because you're not going to be prepared for it. If you play this game without, and you haven't really, like, spent much time in the game, like you haven't really, like, fully, like, I mean, here's the thing, like, and this is something that I'm guilty of, and I think a lot of people are guilty of. Like, there's a lot of people that will rush through games, and they won't pay attention to the little things. The little things. You know? And I see it all the time. I see a lot of people doing it. You know? And I understand it. You know, people want to get through games. They don't want to spend time figuring things out and learning. They just want to just play. But if you don't learn how this game works by this point, you will learn. Because if you don't, you're going to get bummed hard in this next dungeon. Because this is the dungeon that ultimately is punishment for those people that haven't learned the game. So, because I've played the game before, I'm already prepared mentally for this dungeon. I know what I'm getting into. I know what's coming up next, and I know it's going to be painful and agonizing. But you know, I'm ready.
Claire, I'm leaving Her Majesty in your hands.
Yes. Leave it to me.
I do not believe it is a trap, but nevertheless, please be careful.
Don't worry, Your Majesty. We'll be fine.
It's just like Her Majesty said. Everything begins with trust.
So it does. May Apris guide you in your path.
I look forward to bringing you good news.
And we look forward to your safe return.
But anyways, as I was saying, I think now we've gone through that, it would be a good time to end this episode off here. Since we got the Merciful Ruins sorted out, so yeah, I think that's a good time to end it. So yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you all next time.